Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening on 7th of April. USA committed an act of impropriety. As a matter of fact, if it had been China or Iran, it would have been deemed an act of war. USS John Paul Jones, a part of the 7th Fleet, entered into EEZ, Exclusive Economic Zone, violated Indian law, trespassed brazenly, and still it asserted its navigational rights and freedom. Just 130 nautical miles west of Lakshmi, India's exclusive zone was trespassed into without permission and without information. USA did try to dial down the differences with India, but the fact remains that the country called USA, acting as a supercop, has deliberately challenged not only Indian law but also UN decision, which says that the EEZs are a part of that maritime boundary which normally extends to 12 nautical miles. The Pentagon press secretary says that it was an innocent passage, indicating that no military maneuvers had been carried out. It's just like a thief saying that I entered but I didn't steal anything. But trespass is still trespass. Forced entry is still forced entry. And the government says that the law of sea does not authorize other states to carry out military maneuvers on the continental shelf or the EEZ. Now, 7th Fleet is not a commercial ship. It's a fleet which is the strongest fleet in the world. And it had earlier entered into Bay of Bengal during 1971. So, Government of India stated position of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea is that the convention does not authorize other states to come into EEZ. India had ratified this convention in 1994. And not only India, but 168 other nations have done it. USA has not done it. But simply because you say that you don't accept it does not mean you can violate. Now, what is the reality? The reality is that the USA has sought to allocate to itself a global corp role in its implementation. Since the rules-based maritime order has become a much used political catchphrase, it's worthwhile examining those rules. As I said, India ratified the convention in 94, and 168 of the states out of 200 odd followed it. USA did not do it. But unfortunately, UN has not authorized any overseeing agency to see that the people follow the rules. And the statement was unusual, since New Delhi and Washington both are members of the Quad. Now, this is a contradictory statement, or a contradictory action. On the one side, USA as a part of the Quad is committed to observe and protect Indian waters. On the other side, it violates those orders, stating that the Indian maritime claims are excessive. So if you build a boundary, it is excessive and that gives a right to the thieves to breach it. And US has arrogated, as I said, a right a super copyright. Now, how did it happen? As a matter of fact, the 9-year-long negotiations were there before this convention was ultimately signed. They started in 1982, and it was a struggle basically between Europe and North America and the emerging third world who stake their legitimate claims on the wealth of the oceans that they own. And the first challenge to this old idea that white supremacy, West is the best, came at the time of President Harry Truman, who declared the US there is jurisdiction on all natural resources of the continental shelf. Naturally, if US does it, others would follow. So it was a free for all in which some states extended their sovereignty to 200 miles. And the others declared territorial insults as much as the limit wanted. So then UN set up an agreement on a set of land, and they said, no, it's not 200 miles, it's 12-mile limit. It's a 24-mile continuous zone. And then up to 200 miles EEZs for the country so that they can develop their natural resources. And the purpose was that that should be a common heritage of mankind. Ronald Reagan didn't want it because it was something which USA didn't like. So US Senate did not ratify this clause, this rule called June clause. Now, there's the residential flaw, I don't deny it. But then there is a way out. It can be arbitration, or it can be as an international tribunal for the law of the sea. It didn't happen. Now, the question is, would this have happened if Trump was the president? No. Because Trump was building up India as a partner country. And so much so that he wanted India to be a part of the NATO, which even Biden has said, and I had recommended in my article, India should say no to that. Now look at it. On one side, as I said, USA is supporting India as a part of the Quad. And Quad without India is meaningless. On the other side, it's annoying India. But look at the history. If you look at the history, you will find that USA has always behaved like a serpent with a forked tongue. It is double-faced, it's hypocritical. And the countries which it has quoted, it has stabbed them in the back. You can look at all those, whether it was Libya or Iraq. Even Iran, the present government Shah was dethroned by CIA machinations, and these people were installed, the Khomeini group, the gang of the fundamentalists. USA has always been supporting Pakistan. And then when it supported India only at that time when its interests were there. Why is it that India should trust USA? There are several red faces in the South Bloc, and I'm amazed that the foreign policy has not been sufficiently formulated to be assertive enough. The entry of the Seventh Fleet under freedom of navigation operations without India's permission is an attack on the sovereignty of India. And it should have met with immediate reprisals. I can understand that there was no call for fight. But then we could have made our resentment clear by recalling our ambassador. I remember way back in the early 70s, late 60s, one day I received a call, and It was from Mr. Huxley. He wanted something new to set Nixon and Kissinger team right. So we came up with a proposal. I was driving down and I saw Qutb Hotel, the headquarters, present Qutb Hotel, at that time it was headquarters of USA. So we proposed that USA should be closed down, hotels should be nationalized, that building should be nationalized. At the same time, IBM, Coca-Cola should be kicked out. And that was done, and they were given 24 hours notice to back up. It sent a message that India can be assertive. It did annoy President Nixon, but the message was clear. This time, Modi should have been very clear, and within hours, we should have requested the US ambassador to go back to Washington, recalled Sandhu, the Indian ambassador in USA. I'm not calling saying break in the diplomatic relations. It could have been downgraded to the second level. Instead of the ambassador, we could have a consul general who could keep on doing the formal things. And that would have been a temporary measure, but the message would have been sent. This is a new standard operating procedure that has been adopted by US Navy. It was not there earlier. Earlier, the system used to be that whenever the military fleet, the naval fleet were coming in, the Coast Guard and the naval headquarters would be informed of the visit. But the new SOP adopted by the US Navy is in fact a direct hint to USA, sorry, to India by USA, that look here, we are supporting you. But for us, you are as much to be blamed as China is. You remember the same thing USA had done with China. Now, if they had done this thing with Iran, by this time, missiles would have been fired. Let them try it in Gulf of Hormuz. They would dare do it. And even in South Sea China, they did not trespass into those temporary islands and the artificial island. They kept their a respectable distance from there. But here they have not done it. And that is what should have made the government feel. FONOP, which USA is fond of talking about, freedom of navigation operations, is country neutral, they say. But would they have done it in any other maritime domain? No. And Delhi has been very accommodating of these FONOP operations. And they have never challenged the movement of US naval fleet when they were informed. Every time they were informed, the message would go, yes, you are welcome. But this, without permission, without intimation, is an infringement of Indian sovereignty. And US approach of listing these operations has been taken note now by the Foreign Ministry. But it is specific operation-wise statement that has created disquiet in Delhi. Now what happens? There was no need to come to EEZ. And without information, it's a common courtesy. You send a wire. Well, we are visiting and this will be our itinerary. That's it. And in routine, some desk officer in the Foreign Affairs Ministry have said, and the naval department, is a player, please. You are welcome. Here, they not only trespassed, but they announced it that we have trespassed as if they were throwing a challenge to Indian authorities. Look here, we are doing it. It was like US is behaving like a bully. They should have given us for permission. And if they did not ask for permission, they should have just come and gone, not made a public display of their blatant disregard for the Indian law. Now, this is a challenge to Modi. He talks of the 56-inch chest all the time. He talks of the surgical strike. Great. I'm all for that. The way we face China this time is praiseworthy. The way we handled Pakistan deserves our praise. Why is it that since April 7 to April 12, not a single action has been initiated, apart from a statement saying that this is not within the rules? Not even a complaint, not even a diplomatic protest, not even an aid memoir. This is the aid memoir is the sweetest diplomatic protest that can be made. Whereas I can tell you, had Madam Gandhi been there, she would have sent the American ambassador packing. If not that, at least she would have called him on the mat. And I can tell you what she would have done. She would have called him, say at 10 o'clock, that the Madam Prime Minister wants to meet you. And he would have come and he would have been asked, made to wait for a couple of hours and then told, look, Mr. Ambassador, we don't like it. Tell your government we don't like it. That's it. Very curtly, very brusquely, and the matter would have been ended. At least you would have asserted your right. Here you're not asserting your right. Indian establishment, I don't deny, is perturbed that it has been called unaware as a public statement by the 7th Fleet. I also am aware that it has reached out to the US administration separately for clarification. I know by Friday afternoon, South Bloc and Pentagon were in touch with each other and were trying to dial down the diplomatic heat, but the damage has been done. It may not affect Quad and the level of our cooperation, but now the diplomats have a lot to do. What this has done is it has created a trust deficit. And this trust deficit shows that India cannot have trust in Biden administration. According to the US Department of Defense, foreign program has existed for 40 years and continuously reaffirmed US policy of asserting its navigation and overflight rights. Does it mean that as India stopped overflight rights for Pakistan, India can't do it? No, India can't do it. Of course, if they're flying through the space, that's something different. But say up to the certain limit, the sky limit, they cannot supposed to do it. And the Department of Defense says that these assertions communicate that the USA does not accept the maritime claims of India. This is something which is absolutely not acceptable. Let's not deny the 7th Fleet is the largest of the US fleets. It has 70 ships and submarines. It has 150 aircrafts. It has 20,000 soldiers. It's commanded by a 3-star Navy officer. Now, this is more than the naval strength of most of the countries. And this, without any saying, by your permission, entered India, entered economic zone, violated the territory. We had, as I told you, a close encounter with 7th Fleet. And there was an outside chance for a ceasefire before the Pakistani army came in. Had 7th Fleet not come, Bangladesh war would have ended much before that. But the Chief of Navy at that time was asked to assemble an impressive task force and move it the coast of South Vietnam into Malacca and to Bay of Bengal. This was called Task Force number 74. Now, what is to be done is that India EEZ is an area beyond the territorial waters of 12 miles and is 200 nautical miles from the baseline. This has been violated, and India should be very strong, very assertive if it wants to preserve the image that the Modi government sought to project of being a global power. The reaction till now shows that India has no right to be a global power if it cannot stand against a bully. I'm not saying go for a war, but diplomatic protests are within our rights. And let's not forget, there's no comparison between India and China. Even if Washington disagrees with New Delhi's domestic maritime laws, the matter could have been handled with more diplomacy and more finesse. As I said, both are a part of the Quad and have increasingly bilateral cooperation against China. So minor disputes are likely to undermine the overall objective of Quad and would ultimately affect the enforcement of a rule-based international order. This action of US, in fact, is an indication that any bullying country can terrify comparatively weaker country and get away with it. That is definitely not acceptable. And it is incumbent on the government to remember that every dog has territorial capabilities and defends it. India should defend its EEZs from the interlopers. And strong action, diplomatic, is called for, not that this has taken place, but so that such incidents are not repeated and national honor is maintained. Would India dare do it? Let's watch. Thank you.